Take it away, Enid. Eden, Enid, if you're speaking, I think you might be muted.
Can you hear me, Lauren?
Loud and clear.
Oh, okay, gracious sake. Sorry, everybody. Good morning, and thank you, Lauren, for the introduction. I will be talking about the AP and ACT exam prep resources from LearningExpress, which lives at EBSCO. Um, and it's timely because the October ACT registration is due, I think, by the end of the month or October 1st for the October date. And just put a tweet out this morning about that. I do have some kind of administrative things to go over first. So let's follow along here at kyvl.org. For those of you who have a library email address, so if you have a Jessamine County Public Library email address or Jackson County, etc., you can use this padlock in the upper right-hand corner of our website to get to our request password form. And also the students can use this. You may or may not have heard that the Department of Education is using federal dollars to reimburse school districts their KYVL fee for this year. So we hope that we have every county participate and get reimbursed for that membership fee. And what that would mean then is that every student in the Commonwealth can come to this form, put in their school district email address, and get the ID and password emailed to them. So you can pass out your KYVL login. Of course, you can do direct links to resources on your website. Uh, and if that's by library card, ID, etc., that's fine too. If you would like to add links to your website, you can get in touch with me at kyvl@ky.gov, because then you could build an ACT page with links to the Learning Express centers and handouts, etc. But just get in touch with me. So the padlock for the request login, and then here under For Librarians on kyvl.org, we have a librarian's toolbox. And over here on the left, there's a handouts and outlines menu. And what we've done is added, there's a Learning Express flyer out here. And this is a PDF with links to each of these resources. So the ACT and AP exam prep is in the admissions test prep center. And there's a link to that. So you could put this on your website if you wanted, or you could link to ours, however you want to do it. If you want the Microsoft Word version of this, let me know and I will happily send it to you. You, of course, could also print it out. And then just as an FYI, we have a PowerPoint, and it's in the Google Drive as well, on the new Kentucky Academic Standards for Library Media. And what we've done is gone through the standards and identified where KYVL resources fit in. And I'm just going to scroll through these quickly because what I want to do is show you this. This is also a slide deck of links. So we've got this K-12 resources overview poster that we've linked to. That's also here under the librarian's toolbox. And let me show you what that looks like if you've not seen it before. This is everything that we have for K-12. This is an 11 by 17 poster, and it shows the different centers that are, the different resources that are here, what's in that resource, and then what tools are available. So where you can get citations, what has Google Classroom integration, etc. And so there are just links through here. We have scavenger hunts that we've updated. And then there's a link to the librarian's toolbox in here. So just keep in mind that these things are out here. There are also some quick reference handouts in both Word and PDF versions. And these have links embedded to each of the resources. So just be aware that that's out there. Now for Learning Express, there's a couple ways that we can get to it. I can go to 4K12 students to the high school page, and here's the admissions test prep link, or I can go to databases on the menu to Learning Express, and admissions test prep is the first thing. So either way. Now when I open Learning Express, what a student needs to do first is register. And if you do not already have Learning Express links on your website, please email me at kyvl@ky.gov, and I can send you the file with the direct links. And then what will happen is, if students come through your link on your website, it will have your library name here at the top. And then if they use Learning Express resources, we'll record the statistics for that that we post monthly. So you could see what your library is doing with Learning Express resources. So when a student first comes here, they do need to register. And if they come through your website with the link that I provide you, the name here will be your library name. It's important to note that the Learning Express links for each of the centers do not need to be proxied. So that means if you do the link, the student is not going to need the KYVL login and password. It's a direct link, and they won't need to log in with us, but they will do this registration process. And when they do this just one time, the next time they can use Google to sign in. So I'm just creating an account, and I'm going to register. And okay, so it already exists. So let me just sign in, and I'm going to sign in with Google, and I'm already logged into my primary Gmail account. So I'll just pick that. And the reason for the registration is that Learning Express, once they've accessed a resource, it will be remembered in this My Center. So you can see I've been working on the ACT English practice test, grade 4 geometry practice. I've been working on the ACT test tutorial, the English test prep tutorial, etc. It shows me ebooks that I've downloaded. And what's nice about these ebooks is that there is no digital rights management. So I could put one of these on my phone, I could have one on my Chromebook, whatever I need to do. So let's pretend that this is my first time here. So I am going to go into college admissions test prep and prepare for the ACT. And here we are. We have a number of tutorials, practice tests. There's a complete simulation that has a clock running as if they're taking the ACT in real time. And then there are ebooks that they can download. Most of these ebooks are about 200 pages, and they are content heavy. They're not, you're not going to find pictures or um, extra stuff in the ebooks. It's just fully focused on test prep. So let's start with this introduction to the ACT test tutorial. So all the tutorials in LearningExpress have the same look and feel. And this is what a tutorial looks like. So I'm going to click Start. And then there are sections within the table of contents. So if I'm just starting out, I'm going to go through each lesson within the tutorial. So what will I see on the exam, an overview of the English test, and so on. And if I get interrupted, I can save and finish this later. And then it shows me that I'm in progress. And the next time I log in, it will default to my center and I can jump to that section in the tutorial. So I'm going to go back to the tutorial. Some of these tutorials do have pre and post tests depending on what the subject matter is. So as you can see, they're just working their way through how to study, strategies for success, and just really understanding what the ACT is about. So I'm going to go back to the main ACT page. So let's look at this English test. And this is not, the tutorials are updated on a regular basis. I don't have the schedule, but they are reviewed several times a year. And so this one has a pretest. So as a student, I can just next my way through these questions just to see how I might do without studying. And then any of the test questions, it's not a knowledge bank. So if they do the test once, the next time they do that or open it, the questions are not going to change. So just keep that in mind. It's not a knowledge bank, but in the test prep, there are usually 3 or 4 different sets of questions that they can work through. So this is my pretest in the tutorial. I can click to finish this later, or I can go ahead and score my test. And you'll see this often because I'm going to show this several times. This is what it looks like when you haven't finished a section. So I've only answered 5 questions. If I didn't realize that there were more, I can click into the next question and answer those questions. And this is responsive, so they can do it on their phone. So now I'm going to score my test. I have a few questions left, but let's just pretend I've done the whole thing. And this is what a score report looks like in LearningExpress. So it shows me with this key at the top of the page where I'm doing all right and where I need improvement with those exclamation points. And then the post-test is also linked here, but we'll not do that. And then I can go back to the units and jump in and do the quizzes if I've worked through it. Or maybe I just want to test my knowledge first. But then I'm going to go back to the course here at the top of the page. And then as you can see, all these tutorials, same look and feel. The navigation will be familiar once they've gone through one of the tutorials. And do stop me with questions. It's a little small, make that a little bigger. So I'm going to go back to the main page. So we've looked at a couple of the tutorials. Let's look at a practice test. So here we have 4, and like I said, once they work through these 4, there is not another set of tests that comes up, that there's this finite number of practice tests. I could print it, but I'm going to do it online, so I'm going to click Start Test. And then it gives me an overview of what this test is about. And then I have different modes that I can choose. I can choose simulation, which has a timer. I can see practice, which gives me answers after I've finished everything. Or I can go in learner mode and check my answers as I go along. So I would much rather do this in learner mode and check as I answer questions. So here's my reading, and then I've got questions about the experiment. So I'm just going to randomly answer. And then I have an option to view what the answer is. So I've gotten this one wrong, and then I have an explanation of why D is the correct answer. So I can just go through and check my answers as I go. So I can next into the next section. I can save and finish this later. I can score my test. And all of these options are with every practice test. So let's look at, I'm going to finish this later. So I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to come back into the center for ACT test, and let's look at some of the books. So we've got an ACT Word Games ebook, a flash review, and this power practice. So let's look at this power practice. So there it's downloaded on my hard drive. And the only color and image you're going to see is the first page. The rest of this one is 346 pages long. So it talks about strategies, and then it gets into questions. So I remember in the days that I worked at my local public library branch, those ACT test prep books were like gold. They were hard to keep around. Or a parent's license if they wanted to borrow it from the reference desk. So this is much easier just to download a PDF of an ebook. And then there are flashcards. So let's look at some of these. And I'm going to, so this is something that they might print out sections or might do on their screen. They can just flip through here. This would look really good on a phone. And this thing is almost 450 pages. So definitely not something you want to print the whole thing out, but they can certainly flip through their phone quite easily to do that study practice. Any questions about the ACT resources? Or the direct linking?
Hi, Enid. We don't have any questions thus far. I think our audience is just absorbing. But again, if you do have questions, open the Collaborate panel, click on the chat bubble, and then you can type in your question, and I'll be glad to read those out to Enid as they come in.
And I really like questions. Questions make me really happy. Okay, so let's look at the AP exam prep. So also under admissions test prep, let's prepare for an AP exam. And there are many to choose from. This list has doubled in the last 5 or 6 years. It used to be half as long. So EBSCO has really stepped up with providing resources for these AP exams. So here's the list. So let's do statistics. All right, so we've got study guides and then a couple of practice exams. And same with the as with the ACT test prep. If they do the 2 exams, that's it. It doesn't come up with exam 3 and 4 the next time. So just keep that in mind. So let's look at study guidance. And so this explains the exam. And talking about understanding the charts and graphs, things like that. And let's go into practice exam 1. And so this should look familiar. The ACT intro page looked like this. So it tells you how many questions, how many minutes you have to take this. So I can do a simulation. Maybe I've gone through this practice test and the second practice test, and now I want to go through and do it as a simulation to see if I can finish in the allotted time. So I'll choose the simulation and start test. And here my clock is running. So I am going to read some questions. And let me just answer some of these. And I'm going to next to the next section. So just bear with me. Okay. So the simulation, with this simulation, I can stop and save and finish later. With the ACT, there is a timed simulation that if they start it, they cannot finish it later. And there's only one like that, and it's with the ACT test prep. With the AP exam, you can do the save and finish later. So what I'm going to do is score my test, and I have many questions that I have not answered, but I'm going to click score anyway, so you can see the score report. So I can view my answers, see what I got wrong, and I could go back to a question and see what the explanation is for the answer. And I could look at all of my answers, see what I got wrong and why. If I go back to my score report, it shows the breakdown. So it tells me what the subject was in that section, how many questions, how many I got right, how many I got wrong. And then it makes recommendations at the bottom for other things I need to do to improve my grade. And this tutorial, this grade 8 math tutorial, is found in the School Center from LearningExpress. That is a great place to go to practice skills. So if you go to centers and go to School Center, high school, it's not AP exam prep specifically, but it does cover many topics. So if you're working with a student who's going to do the AP exam prep, um, just keep in mind in the school center there are these uh, practice options where they can go and do some review first. Now, in a couple weeks, this school center is going to be divided into two sections. There will be a middle section and a high school section. So just, well, it'll be 4 through 8 and then 9 through 12. So just be aware that this will look a little different in a couple weeks, but the content will be here. So School Center for review. And then there are links, again, in the test report where they can click on that and go practice whatever concepts they need help with. And at any time, I can go up to my name on the menu bar and go to my center. So I'm going to close without saving. And then I can come here to my center if I need to go back to the ACT science practice test or the English test and so on. Does anybody have any questions? That went a lot faster than I expected.
Hey there, Enid. No worries. It's fine if you've gone through things a little more quickly. Haven't seen any questions yet, but we do have a couple of comments. Megan says, I wish I could have known about something like this when I was a high school student 10 years ago.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Heather agrees. I also agreed, but I had to add that it was 20 years ago instead.
Yeah. So let me just repeat the highlights. This is device responsive. So Chromebook, phone, tablet, iPad, that's all fine. Not a problem. It will uh, resize appropriately. The school center is a great place to start for content review. So here in the school center, and the different areas, and there are practices, there's tutorials, and ebooks. And again, the ebooks, there are no restrictions on them. They can be printed, downloaded as many times as necessary. And with the practice tests, etc., they can repeat these, so they can start over. That's not an issue. And just remember, it's not a knowledge bank, so the questions don't change. but the formatting is standard. So if they do one practice, the next time they do one, it will be familiar. And then about the direct links, if you want to do a page for test prep or school resources, that sort of thing, I have an Excel file for every library that I can send, but don't copy the links from our website because the links are unique to you for LearningExpress, and we want to make sure that you would get your statistics. It's not a problem to come to kyvl.org and access the resources from our site, but if you do want to do your own pages, just let me know. And I think, as a review, that's everything I wanted to share. So if there's no questions, I'm going to say that I'm finished.
Well, no other questions. We did have a comment from Elena that she'll be contacting you for help with adding links to the website, and it looks like she is
Great.
from Adair County Public Library. So
Awesome.
I'm sure there'll be some others who will look into this after watching the recording. This is fantastic, as always, although I have to admit, a little traumatizing thinking about all those texts from back in the day. It looks like Elena's already sent you an email, so we
Oh,
really
great.
appreciate your time and expertise. For our attendees, if you are interested in more KYVL resources, Enid will be back at 11 to talk about ebook collections for K through 12. She'll also be here at 2 p.m. to talk about KYVL basics for quick search and finding publications. I'll stop the recording here in a moment, but I will add links to today's schedule and again to the resources on Google Drive in case you need them. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, Lauren.
You're welcome.